I arrived in Taiwan the first time in September 1957. Coming from California, it was like entering a different world. A step back in time, a kaleidoscope of strange and exciting images, a fairy tale land where $1 American bought so much more than it ever could at home. I am fascinated by the sights and sounds and odors. Everything and everyone looks so different from at home. The buildings, the streets, the people walking in them. If I close my eyes, the sounds are strange and new. Strains of Chinese music, the staccato of foreign words I cannot understand, the clip-clopping of wooden shoes on the streets, the shouts of children playing. But even in this symphony of unfamiliar noise, one can distinguish laughter and tears. At heart, people are all the same. And then there are the new smells that assault my nostrils. The scents from smoking cooking pots, the whiffs of strange spices and sauces, the dust rising from unpaved paths. I marvel at every new sight, sound, and smell. So happy to be here, not at all missing or wishing for what I left behind.
This is where we live. This is the Jesuit community in Guangxi. See, these are all the marks of the wheelchair of Father Bob before. You know, when he turns and... See? So when we eat, usually this is his place here. He usually sits here. So these are marks also of his wheelchair here. You can see it here from this angle here. This one here. Yeah. I don't know if he still has the name here. Benoit has a name here. This is his. There's a name here. You can see it here. Bob Ronald. That's his serviette. You know, here. These are all the marks of his wheelchair. And when my kids come, the small one was about 2 years old at that time, and he would sit on Father Bob's lap. And he would drive his wheelchair like dancing, you know, here. And then whenever we have a community night, these are his tables here. So whenever we have a community night, when we are chatting here, he would usually sit here. This is a special height for his wheelchair. And he always drinks Baileys, I remember. He likes to drink Baileys. And usually I sit here. It's either here or here, beside him. I usually sit beside him because I have this instinct of helping him out every time he cannot reach something, or he wanna grab something but he cannot reach it. So I usually sit here. And Father Jerry would be here, Father Yves, or the Benoit, maybe one or two guests.
Hi. You all know me as Father Bob Ronald. That's the name I was given when I was born in California in 1932. But over here in Taiwan, I'm known as Liu Jianren, which is the Chinese name I was given when I first came to this island in 1957. I spent my high school years at Balmain Prep in San Jose. That's where I got to know the Jesuits. I guess I must have been impressed by their ideals and their life of service, because I decided to join them in 1950. In 1957, I came to Taiwan. This had been the long-cherished goal of mine. But after only 1 year here, catastrophe struck me in the form of polio, which left me paralyzed in both arms and legs.
Alright, so I'll show you, this is the room of Father Bob. As you can see, this is also part of the house modification. It's a swinging door. Again, his marks here. And also this one was modified also especially for him. The door was here originally, but it was modified into this one so that the lift could easily move in and out. This is his original toothbrush here when he was still alive. So more marks here. His bed here, special airbed. Oh, I had to plug it in, but it's a motorized one. There's a special motor underneath here, and it's also push button bed. Here, he can adjust the headrest, and this is the still here, the slide. This is to move him from bed to wheelchair, or from wheelchair to the car. We would put it under his butt here, and he would swing and slide there.
Great things happen when God mixes with man. Great things happen when God mixes with man. Great and beautiful, wonderful things. Great things happen when God mixes with man. Some find life, some find peace. Some people even find joy. Some see things as they never could before, and some people find that they can now begin to trust.
Great programs, two of them for children and another two for science and for management and so on.
Which one is the series?
Yeah, it's a series of 10 episodes. Bob is my Jesuit companion. We were classmates for several years, and now we live together in this community, the community of Guangxi Program Service. But for his convenience, he lives in a parish near the veteran hospital, where he works and he serves a lot of people. Though he does not live with us, he never forgets his community, and every Monday he will surely come and have a good time together. Bob appreciates very much these meetings. He will make a phone call reminding us that he is coming that evening. Those phone calls are a good reminder for all of us, the Jesuits who live here, that there is a time for work, and there is too a time for getting together and feel that we are like a family, a group of friends in the Lord.
I think I've known Bob for about 40 years, I guess. Yeah, I think about 40 years. Shortly after I knew about him before I came to Taiwan, but I met him shortly after I came to Taiwan, and that was 43 years ago. For convenience, he had to live near the hospital, but once a week he would faithfully somehow get someone to drive him, or take a taxi, or get over to Guangxi Program Service, to our community here, have dinner with us, and then he would often bring a video, and we'd sit around and watch the video. It was difficult for him to see movies. Many movie houses in Taiwan, many cinemas didn't have facilities for handicapped people. So when videotapes came out, that was a big exciting event for Bob, and he raided the video stores every chance he got for videos, and he wanted to share them with us, to see them with us. I think his favorites were comedies and scenes that made him laugh. In fact, that was even when his health began to fail towards the end. That's how we could tell if he was really, because he never complained. He would never complain about his health. But if there was a funny movie and he was not laughing really with all of his strength and with all of his, then we knew that he was really feeling bad. It was kind of a way of telling his temperature, seeing how hard he laughed during a film, a comedy.
One of my favorite leisure time activities is walking around the streets and the marketplaces. Since there are few cars, the only thing you have to worry about are the bicycles, which dart around everywhere, including on crowded sidewalks. The streets are especially alive at night, when the heat of the day is tapered off and whole families stroll around greeting each other for shopping in the market. The marketplace is something out of this world. Everything is placed on display, including what normally requires refrigeration in the U.S. The strangest fish and vegetables are set out. Some of the fish are still squirming. Baskets of pale green goose eggs, or rather duck eggs, are piled there, and squid and many undesirables that look like mud or worse. On one counter, the fellow had lain down and was sleeping. He'd sold out everything, so what else was there to do?
This is Father Bob's wheelchairs with a S. Huh? This was his early wheelchair. It's motorized also, and it's lighter. So it depends where he's going, but normally when he travels abroad, he would prefer to take a manual one, because it's lighter and easier also for the person who's accompanying him to carry it. So it's got several actually. You see, this is very new. The left one is very new because he was amputated below the knee, I think. No, above the knee. I forgot. Was it above the knee? Yeah, I think above the knee. It was amputated above the knee left. So this is pretty much new, if you can see. And this is the only one that's left. He used this often at that time. So you can see the difference.
And he would come down. He had just come back from the States, and he had been ordained, and he had a car. He brought a car back from the States, and it was kind of a high-tech car. He could put his wheelchair in the car, and then he had a driver that would drive him down to visit the Jesuits in Sinju. That's where I was studying language, and that's where many of the Jesuits were working. That's actually one of the things that caused him problems, because it was on that road, at that time, a very narrow road. There was no big highway leading from Taipei to Sinju. That's when he had his car accident, and that was a big setback for him. That's when his leg had to be amputated, and he was in the hospital for many months.
你知道一个人生病的时候，尤其碰到这样的情况的时候，会开始的时候，像会有一些不同的反应，对。可是他过了以后，他都接受这些事情。他的一直想法，那个时候我要回台湾，可能帮助他能够说我能够看看能不能站起来。这次这个车祸对他来说，没有像第一次那么严重。第一次是可能会对他来说，因为那时候医生就告诉他说你完全没有希望回台湾，你应该是躺在床上都不可能再去做别的活动的，因为他是比较严重的polio。对。那可是他经过了这个一段这样的经验以后，第二次的车祸，我想为他来说不会那么像，不会那么厉害，对不对？可是至少他能够感觉到他经历过这样的体验，应该是比较容易接受的。
just the time in the hospital was a big setback for him, a big disaster for him, because he had overcome so many obstacles. At that time, he wasn't, when he first contracted polio, he was not yet ordained a priest, and it was questionable whether he could ever be ordained a priest, because the church had so many regulations about you had to have all of your fingers, you had to have all of your, there were certain conditions, physical conditions you had to fulfill. So I think it was a kind of an exception that he was given permission to be ordained, because he couldn't stand. He had to say Mass in a wheelchair. But he just overcame all these obstacles. He got his degree in rehabilitation. He was ordained. He came back. He got a great job at this big hospital, Veterans Hospital. But then he had that accident, and so he was out of work for a long time, and he was really. But he came back again. I remember visiting him in the hospital when, after he'd had the accident, and his leg was infected, and the infection just wouldn't go away, and he wanted so badly to get back to work and to restart his life. I remember him shedding tears, just talking about his frustration. Not in a negative way, but just frustration that he couldn't work. He was so happy to have been able to do pastoral work, pastoral ministry as a priest, and then to help people in the area of rehabilitation in the hospital. That having to lay down on a bed in the hospital for months and months was really frustrating for him. But he came back.
This is a veterans hospital where Bob used to work as a consultant for the rehabilitation center. So after his studies in the States on rehabilitation, where he specialized, he came here and then he designed a module specifically for the physically challenged patients in this hospital. And then after that, he founded the Operation the Handicapped in Taiwan.
当时很多的年轻的残障朋友，他们在医疗以后，没有人再帮助他们，那他们去找Bob，也希望他在荣总的工作，他没办法帮助他们太多，所以他就希望说。如果自己组织一个小团体，就比较容易说可以帮助他们做医疗以后的工作。所以那个时候他开始认识了一些年轻的 polio 的小麻痹的朋友。那我们就在和平西路租了一个小房子，就开始我们的根生复健服务中心的工作。我们希望是从朋友的立场跟他们合作，对，所以我们没有做很多，所以我们做的很多的活动都是差不多这类的，对，所以我们会例如做一个座谈会，有一个专门的心理老师，可是我们差不多有3年，每个星期三晚上，可是我们所谈的问题是无所不谈。可是我们没有做一种应该做这个，我们只是说从不同的活动里面，让他们自己去找到他们的目标，找到他们的兴趣，找到他们的所以我们一直是做这方面的工作。所以我们每次办活动，他们要自己洗碗啊，他们自己包饺子，自己做，所以我们没有请外面的志工或者来帮忙，都是他们自己。所以这开始的时候，我们的运动会就开始慢慢的开始他们来了，人很多，开始我们就开始考虑有些活动了。以后他们要比赛，从这里走到那边。所以他们拔河了的比赛，对，就是我们刚开始的时候，对。 所以他们有每个人有做自己的不同的 team，不同的帽子，不同的衣服。火把进来以后，不是运动员要宣誓。
OK。
所以我为这个 camp 要做那个，所以我们要宣誓，就完全照运动会的样子，对。所以以后才开始这个那个什么这些比赛，对，所以是，对。所以在这里有一个那个罐头，他们用那个拐杖打高尔夫一样打，对，在这里了这个，对，打到对面，对面再打回来。对，以后这个是在后面放那个瓶子，这个另外一个去把瓶子放水，放完以后满了以后，他才要到对面。对，这样。那一年正好在欧洲，我们去了那个欧洲开会，那时候去了梵蒂冈，以后看见了教皇教宗，那我们也把我们的那个根生复健服中心的简介了，我们的希望了，也交给教宗，请他祝福我们的工作。这是那个时候，他参加大会的节目以后，教宗下来到那些特别一个区，就是说专门为那些残障人士的那个区。所以教宗一个一个去跟他们握手，他每个事情都在考虑在好的方面。他的人生就比较，虽然他经过这样的一种不同的情况，他的痛苦，他的病痛，可是他都没有表现出来过。他会在朝着他想要做的事情，能够提供说为什么地方比较需要，什么人比较需要的，他就会做。
And he really was a beacon of hope. I think this Operation D-Handicap, just his presence in the organization, he actually did very little. He handed it over to Mr. Ignatius Huang, who's been in charge of it for years, and who did all the organization. But Bob did mainly the fundraising, and I think just he was the inspiration to the young people that joined. I remember every Christmas, in fact, after he died, I was going through his things, and one of the most moving things for me was the list every year he updated his list of names and addresses of benefactors all over the world. And all of that money went to Operation D-Handicap. He's just, every year he would write a Christmas letter and send it to as many people as he could. And in that Christmas letter there was a request that people help. And people gave very small donations, but all of the accumulated donations kept that organization going for years and years. And he never said a word about that, but I know it was like his child, his one of his main concerns was that organization continue.
This is his original mask since he was ordained. So, is the chalice here. Let's cross. Yeah, see, these are unconsecrated hosts, I suppose, because it's here for a long time. So this is pretty much the same like a bag for the doctors, So for priests they have this kit. So here is one of the things that he was quite extraordinary, and special in a way, because I remember he told me that he has to have a special permission from the Pope at that time before he could be ordained, because he was already on wheelchair. It's an exceptional case.
I think he considered every event that happened to him in his life a call, a vocation, a message. Whatever happened to him was a sign that he should do something, not a sign that he should give up but a sign that he should do something. So he was always looking for opportunities, and I think he always saw in everything that happened to him a new stage in his life, a call to go further, to become something else or to do more.
1932, my first vocation, baptism. I became a child of God. 1945, my second vocation, confirmation. I became a witness for Christ. 1952, my third vocation, religious vows. I became a Jesuit. 1957, my fourth vocation, my mission mandate. I became a missionary abroad. 1958, my fifth vocation, crippling illness. I became a witness of the cross. 1965, my sixth vocation, holy orders. I became a priest forever.
I think this was written a long time ago, my 6 vocations. I think if he wrote this again before he died, he probably would have had 12 or 15 vocations because he kept finding things that he could do. When he was no longer able to work at the hospital, he still continued on a volunteer basis a couple times a week, just helping his friends there with documents and reports that had to be written in English. But that's when he started writing. And that was, I think, his last vocation, was writing. And he would write these stories that he would publish or send to magazines, send to eRenlai. And he always said, I don't know where that story came from. He would come out with some brilliant little gem, little story or something very imaginative, very creative, and he'd say, I just don't know where those stories come from. So I think probably his last vocation, on top of all the others, was creative writer.
This fable is about a remarkable insect now extinct. The purple-winged, golden-shelled paluncas. Once upon a time, millions of years ago, long before there were mastodons and dinosaurs, and long after they disappeared, there was a big bug named the paluncas that God had designed with marvelous endowments.
And he always say, remember, I don't have any hang-ups. I don't have any hang-ups. You know, he would always say that. You know. He's very humorous as well. And sometimes when I come on a Friday afternoon before I go home for my weekend with my family, his wheelchair would be here and he would be looking outside. And then when something comes out, maybe he's trying to think what to write, or you know, and then after that he would go to his table here and start to write. Yeah. See his picture here. He's a funny guy. Yeah, so this is where Bob lived for the longest time. He used to say Mass here in the morning, and then this is where he used to live. This is a Vincentian parish, and he lived in this corner on the left side of the building. So this is his habitation before, but it's locked. But you see, this door, if you notice, it's really big, really designed for wheelchair. And look at this ramp here. So in the beginning, when his upper extremities were still strong, he could come home by himself and unlock the door by himself and go in. Lights inside are remote control, and then his TV also has remote control, and then his computer he could still switch on by himself at that time. But then after a while, we had to add this room here. You see, this was the original room. We had to add it because we thought it would be best for him to have a 24/7 care provider. So that was the time that we hired, first it was Billy. I took care of Bob for 2 weeks while we were trying to get someone permanent for him. And then after that, Billy came, a Filipino caregiver. And then after Billy went back, there was a gap in between again. So we had Jerry, another care provider. And then after that, Toto came. So Toto lived actually in this room inside. He lived in this room for about maybe 6 years. So Toto came into our knowledge when one of the old parishioners who used to come here in the morning for Mass, and Toto's sister was working with one of the old ladies just in that building there, taking care of an old lady also. So when Toto's sister heard about Bob's need of a caregiver, she told her employer to tell Bob that maybe they can try Toto, her brother. So it turned out to be really good, and Toto was the longest caregiver of Bob until he died. Yeah.
And how would you describe like the Toto's and Bob friendship? You think do they get along at once?
Bob is very, very easy to get along well with. He could go along well with anybody. But with Toto and Bob, it was a very, very special team. They were like, sometimes I could see them like husband and wife, sometimes like brother and sister, sometimes they're like brothers, just brothers. I think Toto was the most loved of all the caregivers of Bob. He was the favorite of Bob, I think, because Toto is a little bit of a clown side like Bob also, so that they can make jokes with each other. And yeah, and Toto was really, really very sad. I remember Toto told me a story when Bob passed away. He said, I never had the chance to take care of my dad before he passed away like I did with Bob. And Bob is like more than a father to me, and also like a brother to me. And he was crying when he told that to me. Yeah.
I think one of the things well, there's so many things that really left a mark on me, having known Father Bob, but one of them was certainly this compulsion, this desire, almost an obsession with serving others, not being served. You might think because of his difficulties, the obstacles that he faced, he would expect to be served. He was very, very undemanding, but he was, and serving others was really what gave him joy, and he realized that even by he could use his handicaps, he could use his physical obstacles to inspire others and to help others. That was something I always found wonderful about him.
He is a man of few words, but when he talks, it's either it's usually with meaning, with an inner message, and sometimes wrapped in in a comic way, you know, in a funny way, like his fables. That's his style of communicating with us. Whenever before he goes to the chapel in the morning for a mass, I was still here at that time because we were full house. So this we bought this specially for me. This is sofa bed. But whenever he turns, because he cannot go forward from his room, going to the chapel forward. No, he cannot go that way because of the narrow alley. He has to go forward, past this corridor, and go backwards to the chapel. This way here. Go straight there, and then moves back. So his wheelchair would sound like beep, 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 beep. And I said, time to wake up. That's my alarm every morning. Now I kind of miss that sound in the morning, you know, because now it's only me and Jerry. I live in this wing here. Jerry lives in that wing there, and even if he puts his TV on a full volume, I couldn't hear it here. Or when I put on my music loud here, he couldn't hear me there.
Every day lived in a new land is an adventure, a grand introduction to new sights, sounds, and smells. Gone are so many of the things I take for granted at home, while the new context makes even the things I do share in common seem strange and unfamiliar. I look with wonder at the children and the passerby for whom all the things that fascinate me are their ordinary, everyday experience. As I wander around alone on my bicycle, up and down back roads and alleys, and venture into the hills on narrow dirt pathways, I wonder if perhaps I might be the first foreign devil who passed by this way. The rural people seem certainly surprised to see me sometimes, but with a curiosity that is open and friendly. They make me feel so glad to be here. There is so much to learn. I don't have time to miss home at all, and I hope that when I do finally return to California, the ties I am creating now will draw me back to beautiful Formosa, forever my second home.